Preface to Across Mongolian Plains. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Recording by Matt Benzing, Oxford, Ohio. Across Mongolian Plains by Roy Chapman Andrews. Preface. During 1916 to 1917, the first Asiatic expedition of the American Museum of Natural History carried on zoological explorations along the frontiers of Tibet and Burma in the little-known province of Yunnan, China. The narrative of that expedition has already been given to the public in the first book of this series, Camps and Trails in China. It was always the intention of the American Museum to continue the Asiatic investigations, and my presence in China on other work in 1918 gave the desired opportunity at the conclusion of the war. Having made extensive collections along the southeastern edge of the great Central Asian Plateau, it was especially desirable to obtain a representation of the fauna from the northeastern part in preparation for the great expedition which, I am glad to say, is now in course of preparation, and which will conduct work in various other branches of science. Consequently, my wife and I spent one of the most delightful years of our lives in Mongolia and North China on the second Asiatic expedition of the American Museum of Natural History. The present book is the narrative of our work and travels. As in Camps and Trails, I have written it entirely from the sportsman's standpoint, and have purposely avoided scientific details which would prove uninteresting or wearisome to the general public. Full reports of the expedition's results will appear in due course in the museum's scientific publications, and to them I would refer those readers who wish further details of the Mongolian fauna. Asia is the most fascinating hunting ground in the world, not because of the quantity of game to be found there, but because of its quality and scientific importance. Central Asia was the point of origin and distribution for many mammals which inhabit other parts of the earth today, and the habits and relationships of some of its big game animals are almost unknown. Because of unceasing native persecution, lack of protection, the continued destruction of forests, and the ever-increasing facilities for transportation to the remote districts of the interior, many of China's most interesting and important forms of wildlife are doomed to extermination in the very near future. Fortunately, world museums are awakening to the necessity of obtaining representative series of Asiatic mammals before it is too late, and to the broad vision of the President and the Board of Trustees of the American Museum of Natural History, my wife and I owe the exceptional opportunities which have been given to us to carry on zoological explorations in Asia. We're especially grateful to President Harry Fairfield Osborn, who is ready, always, to support enthusiastically any plans which tend to increase knowledge of China, or to strengthen cordial relations between the United States and the Chinese Republic. Director F.A. Lucas and Assistant Secretary George A. Sherwood have never failed in their attention to the needs of our expeditions when in the field, and to them I extend our best thanks. Mr. and Mrs. Charles L. Bernheimer, who have contributed to every expedition in which I have taken part, generously rendered financial aid for the Mongolian work. My wife, who is ever my best assistant in the field, was responsible for all the photographic work of the expedition, and I have drawn much upon her daily journals in the preparation of this book. I wish to acknowledge the kindness of the editors of Harper's, Natural History, Asia Magazine, and the Trans-Pacific Magazine, in whose publications parts of this book have already appeared. We are indebted to a host of friends who gave assistance to the expedition and to us personally in the field. The Wa Chaopu Ministry of Foreign Affairs freely granted permits for the expedition to travel throughout China and extended other courtesies for which I wish to express appreciation on behalf of the President and Board of Trustees of the American Museum of Natural History. In Peking, His Excellency Paul S. Reich, formerly American Minister to China, Dr. C.D. Tenney, Mr. Willis Peck, Mr. Ernest B. Price, and other members of the legation staff obtained import permits and attended to many details connected with the Chinese government. Mr. A.M. Guptill acted as our Peking representative while we were in the field and assumed much annoying detail in forwarding and receiving shipments of supplies and equipment. Other gentlemen in Peking who rendered us courtesies in various ways are Commanders I.V. Gillis and C.T. Hutchins, Dr. George D. Wilder, Dr. J.G. Anderson, and Messrs. H.C. Faxon, E.G. Smith, C.R. Bennett, M.E. Weatherall, and J. Kendrick. In Calgon, Mr. Charles L. Coltman arranged for the transportation of the expedition to Mongolia, and not only gratuitously acted as our agent, but was always ready to devote his own time and the use of his motor cars to further the work of our party. In Urga, Mr. F. A. Larson of Anderson, Meyer & Company was of invaluable assistance in obtaining horses, carts, and other equipment for the expedition, as well as in giving us the benefit of his long and unique experience in Mongolia. Mr. E. V. Olofsson of Anderson, Meyer & Company put himself, his house, and his servants at our disposal whenever we were in Urga, and aided us in innumerable ways. Mr. and Mrs. Oscar Mammon often entertained us in their home. Mr. and Mrs. E. L. McCallie, who accompanied us on one of our trips across Mongolia and later resided temporarily in Urga, brought equipment for us across Mongolia and entertained us while we were preparing to return to Peking. Monsieur A. Arlot, Russian diplomatic agent in Urga, obtained permits from the Mongolian government for our work in the Urga region and gave us much valuable advice. In South China, Reverend H. Castle of Tunglu and Reverend Lacey Moffat planned a delightful hunting trip for us in the Zhejiang province. In Shanghai, the Honorable E.S. Cunningham, American Consul General, materially aided the expedition in the shipment of specimens. To Mr. G.M. Jackson, General Passenger Agent of the Canadian Pacific Ocean Services, thanks are due for arranging rapid transportation to America of our valuable collections. Roy Chapman Andrews, American Museum of Natural History, New York City, USA. End of preface.